Hello, it's Irene in here again. This time I am going to bring you another visual novel demo, and this one has romance too. And I think during this demo, I don't know if the whole game is going to be like that. We only have one love interest. That's what I want to say. One love interest. It's called Snow White Ashes. I do think it's probably related to the Snow White fairy tale. I don't know. And this one was developed by ENDYSIS. And it says, once upon a time, one winter night you find a hunter in the woods, a man so warm and charming you feel as if you've known him all your life. But appearances can be deceiving. You'll know that well, won't you? Does that mean? So it's a dark fairy tale romance, a dark fairy tale, where hunter meets hunter and beauty is only skin deep. It says in here that we only have one ending, and the demo is roughly 1 to 2 hours. 3 unlockable bonus scenes, and we have like this beautiful piano music on the background. But they say one charming, not at all bloodthirsty love interest. Not at all bloodthirsty. You, a completely innocent and guileless heroine. Still thinking. Is it the way to say it? Okay. And they have like this warning, which is like this game contains darker themes, especially around toxic, unhealthy relationships. Oh, so we have some warning content in here, okay, that we have to deal with. So let's try and do this. Oh, there we go with some type of serif font. Like in the Western, we love to do this, right? But the serif font. Okay, I walk through an ashen wood alone. Frozen earth crunches, creak, crack beneath my feet. Fat, blurry snowflakes fly by, aglow with the moon's bright light. I could never truly be lost, not to a night like this, when she shines, so round and full, gazing down from the winter sky above. Still, I'll best look like I am. I meander through ashen trails between the birches, silver girths? I don't know how to say this one. I don't know. I'm sorry. I already noticed this is one.
Girth.
Oh, girth. I would never say it like that. Never. I would never. Would think that he would say it like that. Silver girths, stripped with dark around the trunks of pines that bridge the sky, but buried with snow. Yeah, this is one that is going to have like that type of narrative, which is the very lyrical, and you need to know well English to actually understand what's going on. Okay, I see it. These games are not bad. The thing is that they kind of restrict the audience that you're going to have in here when you get these ones. Because, I kind of get the idea sometimes when I do not recognize a word here or another. It's like I can understand kind of like the full thing, but most people that are not native, they are not going to understand what's going on. Yeah, and developers love to do this, and they have their own audience in mind. But sometimes I think they tend to forget that there's another audience that wants to also delve into their games. But if they put this kind of very lyrical English narrative, it's not going to find all of the possible audience that they could actually get. It's a pity though. I walk between the shadows, slip through pools of light and dark, as if I have somewhere to be, but no knowledge of what path might take me to it. All the while I wrap myself in a cape of red wool, pulling its rough spun fabric and fine needlework tied about my shoulders. My hands and I rest inside thick sheepskin gloves. Okay. Even with the snow and the mountain air in my face, the thrill of the hunt keeps the bite of cold at bay. My heart beats with an unfamiliar feeling, a pounding, jittering rhythm. I shiver with excitement. I hope whatever's out there mistakes it for fear. I sink my hand deep into the pockets of my skirts, running my gloves fingers along the edge of the deadly sharpened point I carry. In a strange way, it feels more totem than weapon. I suppose I seek no ordinary prey. I almost smile, like my query how strange to think that I too might hide my fangs. And so I wander on, trembling like a newborn lamb. I wonder how the beast might appear. So she's allowing herself to be a prey. That's what I'm getting. She's allowing herself to be a prey, but she's actually a hunter. She's kind of like setting up the trap in this way. Would it call out to me in a voice nectar sweet, promising shelter? Would it lure me to its mountain lair, whispering honeyed words as it led me to a place where no screams can echo? Would it stalk me patiently, waiting for the moment I collapse, cool, exhausted, in the snow? As I wonder and wonder, I find myself growing impatient, the cause of my shaking turning from thrill to frost. When would it appear? Would it appear? Am I not the image of the perfect prey? I'm running out of time. No, such vexations are a luxury I can't indulge in. I cannot rush this. I need my mind clear. Surely there is some way of drawing its attention to me until it can no longer look away. I feel in my pockets for the small, sharp knife I'll use to whistle my weapon to its deadly point. Is whittle? Not whistle, right? Whittle my weapon to its deadly point. I still feel like serif fonts are not the best to use to any type of media, but yeah, people still do it. What simpler way to entice a beast than with iron freshly drawn? But did I need to go so far? Perhaps it was not flesh it was hungry for. Perhaps I simply needed to call out to it. Because there is not only, like, you are losing two audiences in here. The dyslexic and the not so native English people. Sorry, the two audiences that you are losing in here. Yeah, that's a reality. Draw your blood, sing. So we want to allure our own prey. Would it feel enticed by our singing? Or would we want it to feel the scent of us? Let's sing. I don't know. So call to it I do. I close my eyes and take a deep breath, and then I raise my voice to song. My unfamiliar tongue savors each word of the well-worn tune. The mist queen, wrapped in fog, how softly does she go, with a silver veil round her head that shines like fallen snow. I shiver now to look at her, in moonshine lit aglow. But before I can continue to the second verse, a sudden sound echoes in the distance. I turn. No longer do I hear the wind through the trees, the hooting of a owl, or the scurrying of a squirrel. It is as if the world has gone completely silent and still, save for a pair of careful approaching footsteps. It is seconds longer before I see it, a pinprick of light in the distance, a blur of white like snow swirling around me. Gradually it comes closer, blinking, flickering, bright. All the while I stay still, so still like my heart has forgotten its beat. Closer it draws, closer still, until finally I make out its face, framed in white, lock eyes with it. With him. I can't move or turn away, I can't even breathe. That eye stares back at me with so deep a grin. Are you lost? He says, and like a spell broken, I shake out of my daze, the wind and the sound of the night roaring in my ears. His voice cuts through it all, clear as a bell. Are you cold? The figure wears the skin of a man. A skin so impossibly fair, it reminds me of the broken statue of an angel I once saw in a ruined castle. The surface of its marble pallor, cold as ice when I brushed it with my fingertips. How flawlessly smooth, how otherworldly that lonely thing left behind in the place of broken granite and brittle stone. I'm sorry if I'm going to mispronounce things in here, but when it's like this type of English, I will mispronounce a lot of things. I wonder if the being before me is as cold to the touch. He dresses from head to toe in white, shrouded in white, from his fine wool coat to his fur-trimmed cape and soft leather gloves. Even his hair, cascades of gentle curls that frame his face, shines silver, a radiant halo lit from the glow of the lantern he carries in his hand. The other he extends to me. Are you lost? He asks again. I won't hurt you. I'll see you to safety. I promise. The sound of his voice makes all the worry in the world melt away. It is so musical, so warm and calming, like liquid honey. It takes all my will not to take his hand and offer all at once. So, do we want to give ourselves away already? Probably not, right? We don't know who we are dealing with. So, who are you? Who are you, I ask. Simply a traveler passing through, he says with the faintest hint of a smile, soft, gentle, and unthreatening. If I were naive, I would take his answer without question at all. But I am not. Here, alone in the woods at night. I could ask the same of you, demoiselle. Why ever did you wander here? I was searching for something. Whatever it might be, you've come far. The nearest village is hours away. Have you a place to shelter for the night? No. I say as I quiver, as I fill my voice with the trembling of a lost, vulnerable thing. Lead me away, you have nothing to fear and everything to gain. Please come with me, I am sojourning not far from here. You can share my fire and stay the night in safety. I suppose I can't refuse such a kind offer, I reply, letting relief wash over my words. Show me your true face, show me your fangs. And please, good sir, lead the way. With his free hand, he offers me his arm. I hesitate. Such closeness would avail me to my weapon, but just as easily put me at his mercy. How quickly could he strike back? With what strength could he stop me if I failed? True, but there is also like this thing which is, you are both alone in there, and he hasn't struck it yet. Why? If he had like really bad intentions. Kind of makes you wonder too. Because there is no one in there to actually help us or save us or something. Unless he's just like measuring us, because we could be stronger, unless it's that. So take his hand, or I can walk just fine. Let us be a bit more cautious. I can walk just fine, I stammer. As you wish, he says, withdrawing his arm. No disappointment colors his tone, ever even and warm. Gently he beckons me towards the path he approached from. The wind swirls around us as we walk, my footsteps following the imprints of his boots in the fallen snow. His form from behind is radiant, almost aglow with silver moonlight. The strands of his hair shimmer as he walks, his cape, snow white, trails behind him like a shroud. He stops every now and then to check that I still follow. Each time he gives me a nod or a small smile of encouragement. Every stare from that deep green eye makes my heart thud in my chest. I grip my sharpened point tightly within my pockets. The motion is not suspicious. It is cold night, a cold I so rarely feel, soaking through the thin wool of my cape and shawl. How warm his cloak and furs look, yet never does the breath from his lips fog the night air. I'm not sure he breathes at all. I pull my wools tighter around my shoulders. It does not seem he will strike me yet. I must stay alert, ready for wherever or whatever he lures me to. Might I ask your name, he says, after we have walked some steps from the clearing. I have worn names like they were ribbons in my hair, dozens of names in all colors and shapes. To give one away now would be a frivolous thing. But names, even false ones, create familiarity, bonds. Would it be wiser to keep my cards close, heart closed? Let's be a bit more open, like we are cautious, but at the same time being open, like we are analyzing the situation. You may, of course. My name, it can't be Michelle. My name is Michelle. Michelle, he repeats, savoring each syllable. That's lovely. He sounds like he means it, like there's a heart that still beats beneath his borrowed skin, that flutters at the sight of goodness and beauty, that thrums at the sound of a maiden's name. And yours, I ask. Gabriel, He smiles. Like the old angels, I murmur. If I were naive, I would wonder if he is old enough to remember the angels from the days long before the mists descended. Before any gods and their icons who watched from above fled as the undead and unsated plunged the earth into pestilence and death and rot. I would wonder, had he ever plucked an apple from the branches of Elysium, tasted its sweet flesh, that's what I'm saying, like the serif fonts, then it starts getting into me, yeah. But I know better. Like yours, he says with a smile, breaking my thoughts. Were your parents fond of the old tales as well? I don't think we have, like, no, we don't. Yeah, I was like, maybe no, we don't. We only have this. Were your parents fond of the old tales as well? I know my parents wanted the best for me. I like to think the name they gave me reflected their wish. I'm sure they must have. I've always thought that names are a gift from those who treasure us. When I first... Oh, never mind. I wait, but he does not continue. It's not enough. I need more. Show me what lies beneath your skin. Show me the beast that you are. Now that you've asked something of me, I say, I believe it's only fair I ask you a question in turn. Very well, then ask away. I would like to know more about his purpose. But would it be better to start with some kind of small talk than actually try to understand? Let's go slow. Ask about his clothes. Let's do some small talk. Your clothes, they are so beautiful. I've never seen anything like them. Thank you. They were made by someone very dear to me. I'm sure she'll be happy to hear it. I see, but why wear nothing but white in the snow? I often come to the mountains to hunt. My cloak protects against the cold. Of course. I suppose it also lets me go unseen. Yeah, that's true. Unseen by your victims. But sir, your clothes are too fine for a mere huntsman. You look fit to be, well, if not a prince, then a knight of the Queen's Guard at least. The Queen? There is no queen that rules these lands, unless you speak of the Mist Queen. The Mist Queen, a figure shrouded in fog, in mystery, like her name. Whispered around campfires in village squares, in sober tones, in drunken ones, in awe and reverence. But most often in fear. I've seen her knights before, marching in the wilds. Their pyres burn on the hillside for days. Do you believe that she's lived since the dawn of time, that she bathes in the blood of man to keep her beauty? Not for a moment. I laugh. You speak as if you know her. Would you be afraid if I did? If I were a servant of the Queen? We need to say no. I would call you a spinner of tall tales, good sir. I can scarcely believe she's an immortal at all. The Mist Queen and her Ashen Prince? They sound more like fairy tales than living, well, unliving people. After all, who can remember a time before the mists fell? Who can say whether the undying still walk this earth? Yet, if you were only a servant, merely a pawn, I would think her unfit to be queen of anything at all. How poor her sense of virtue is. You believe me to be virtuous. Well, here you are, helping a poor lost damsel in the snow. I laugh. It's only human to help others in need. I shake my head. Some would disagree, some would seek an advantage over others. That is human nature, my hunter. In any case, there is something gentle about you. I cannot think to place you among her scores of blood-soaked knights. He looks at me for a long time. I wonder if I have said too much. You are a strange girl, a strange, sweet girl. A girl. I'm well past 20 summers, but do not think to ask how many, gentle hunter. Okay, I shall not. Have you a family then? I did, though I was stranger to them at first. They welcomed me into their home and became just like family to me. I loved them very much. But those days are gone now. He gives me a look of sympathy. I'm so sorry. I'm like you. I once had a wife and son, but plague took them from me. I'm sorry for your loss. I consider what to say next. This can be too much. No, I don't want that. Like, imagine he might be still grieving or something. Just ask about his past. Have you always been a hunter? I know, in fact, for much of my life, I hated the thought of harming anything, be it man or animal. My tale is truly a dull one, demoiselle. We have nothing but time. I wait for him to continue as we walk. My father was a knight-at-arms, but he died without land or fortune. I was very young, and so my mother was left to raise me alone in a humble countryside town. I knew from an early age I didn't want to live a martial life like my father, so I apprenticed to a healer, then studied medicine as a young man. Eventually, I returned to that small town, met and married a shepherdess with the loveliest smile in the world, and spent my days treating coughs and fevers, making poultices and tisanes, mending wounds. Until the plague, I finished. He's silent for some time. It was a horrible, cruel thing. To call it a sickness would be to call the ocean a mere pool. It did not spare any of its victims. It turned healthy, smiling folks into dying husks within days. I tried to save them. You did all you could. I can't imagine how awful it must have been. I lost myself for a time, and after that I found I could not return to the healing arts. I could not mend another bone, touch another skin, without feeling the rot beneath my fingertips. That's terrible. I'm sorry. Even the wind is silent as we walk, the crunching of our footsteps the only sound in the night. It's a relief when he turns the conversation away. I've spoken enough of unpleasant matters. Tell me something about you. What do you enjoy? Sure. I am fond of needlework too. But she was like singing, so let's not give too much information. I enjoy singing. I love songs. When I sing, I never truly feel alone. So we can't give like, oh, we were just there singing. Do you understand? We were not trying to lure anything or anyone. It was just a hobby of ours, you know. And you have talent for it indeed. He looks about to speak, but hesitates. Are you often lonely? I'm quite used to it. Solitude is like an old friend to me now. Sometimes I wonder, is it better to be alone or to spend your life with someone you cannot give your heart to? I think we all think about this. We all do. And sometimes you reach a point where you think, oh, I am capable to spend my life with someone that, you know, I cannot give my heart. But it's so hard. It's incredibly hard, let me tell you, because you think you can take like certain things, and then you start understanding that you cannot. You can't stand them. Do you understand? It's like you can't stand them. When you love someone, you can't stand certain things. When you don't love that person, you really start feeling the weight of being with someone you kind of just don't stand anymore, okay? Because it's not someone that actually has your heart. Both of those sound lonely. They do. A wise man would seek a third route, but what if you had no other option? What if fate had tied you together like roots intertwined? I already tried this, so I would say I would spend my days in solitude. I suppose that loneliness surrounded by others is more painful than true solitude. That a life alone would be the lesser torture. But that is a fate I wish upon no one. Even were it hopeless, I would fight to change it. Forgive me, I've burned us with heavy topics again. But I thank you for your insights. Of course, gentle hunter. I searched my mind for another question, another distraction, when suddenly a howl, long and low, cuts through the night. Wolves. Without thinking, I step closer to him, only realizing what I've done when he reaches out and takes hold of my hand. He pulls me close towards him, throws his cloak over my shoulders. His hold on my arm is firm but not tight. Stay close to me, this will mask your scent, he says, pulling his cloak tighter around us. His voice is soft and melodious, the song of a shepherd coaxing a lamb from the maw of one beast to another. This fear I feel isn't mine. It isn't mine. But it runs beneath my skin like a rapid coursing river. My mind cannot quell the instincts of a living heart. Quell. Quell. No, quill is another thing. My mind cannot quell the instincts of a living heart. But I must overcome it. I keep alerting for any sudden movement from him, but he makes none. It's alright to be frightened, it's only natural. But you won't come to harm, I promise. The same way a mouse is safe from the shriek when the eagle is near. We stay that way, standing still in the shadows of pines, as the howls echo through the night, below on the wind. I kept alert for yellow eyes peering from the darkness, but none appear. Perhaps the wolves too sense him and know better than to strike. Out of instinct, I feel myself start to hum, a habit I never grew from, even when I no longer needed to calm my resting heart. I wish the pounding in my chest would still and turn to stone within its cage. Go on, he says, gently coaxing. Sing, let your worries wash away. I take a deep breath, and then I sing. Misty-eyed, her eyes were bright. Her hands were misty too. Her skin was pale and white as milk, dark hair wet with dew. Her gown, it was not made of silk, but willow branch and yew. By the river's bend, how still she stood, as pale shadows bloomed. How black that night, save silvery light of distant star and moon. By the time I have finished the verse, the howls have stopped. The only voice on the wind is the whisper of thin branches whistling through the wood. I quickly let go of his hand. Too close, not yet, not here. It's not far ahead now. Can you walk the rest of the way? I'm fine. Onward, I follow as he leads me through the trees. The cottage comes into view as we turn the bend, almost as if conjured from the mist itself. It is a small, quaint thing, a lonely, strange thing to see, placed there like it was plucked from a fairy story. Its wooden walls are aged but sturdy, its sloping roof coated in fresh snow. It should be the home of a living, breathing woodsman, not a creature of the night. I had never guessed that you would hide yourself in a place like this. I'm feeling like she's thinking of him not as a human, but something else. Aren't you getting that sensation? Because I am. It's beautiful, I say. It's the only place in the world I feel truly safe. Its heavy door creaks open as he leads me inside. The cottage is small with short square windows and low walls, but appears well kept, a solitary home. Strings of dried herbs and fruit mint, horsetail, apples hang from the ceiling. A table and stool sit at its center, stacked with clay pots and metal bowls. A stone hearth cover one wall, a narrow bed lined with fur sits against the other. A bookshelf filled with a dozen or so well-worn tomes stands proudly in a corner even as it teeters beneath jars of more herbs and flowers. The scent of incense, sweet and heady, fills my nose as he lights the kindling in the hearth. The embers cast his skin aglow, his silver curls and pallid features painted softly in warm light. He unfastens his long snow-white cloak and tosses it onto the stool. Carefully, slowly, I slip my hands free from my sheepskin gloves. I feel his gaze, his green eyes watching me as I unravel my shawl from my pale throat. There's a lot of rhymes in here, right? Kind of feel like a lot of rhyming. My fingers, still numb from the cold, fumble with the clasp on my cape. May I? He asks, stepping towards me. I nod, shaking. His hands, even gloved, are deft, swift as surgeon's hands. They free my shoulders of the deep red wool, set the fabric aside on the narrow bed. His gloved hand lingers near my collar. I do not move an inch. I scarcely breathe. Show me your true self. Show me what you are. He brushes my cheek, a whisper of a touch, like he's afraid to hold me, like I am a statue that could crumble away beneath his fingers. May I? He asks again, barely audible. Yes, I whisper back. He brushes a lock of my dark hair behind my ear, then gently, slowly, brings his lips to my skin. They are so soft. His touch is like the snow that lands on my face, carried by the winter wind. Cold but light, feather light on my cheek, gentle. Far too gentle. I don't want this delicate tenderness from him. I am not a fragile thing. Oh, do I need to click? I need it, okay. I fold my hands around his neck, feel the downy softness of his hair as I slip my fingers through its ashen strands. He wraps me in his arms, holds me tightly, kisses my hair, trails his lips down my neck. I shiver. I tremble against him as his gloved hands run through my tresses, down my spine, feeling for the laces of my bodice. He pushes me gently onto the furs, turns me onto my side, and his hand slowly reaches down my skirt, tracing my thigh. Found you, he says, pulling the wooden stake from my petticoats. I yelp, struggling to break free of his grip, but he holds me effortlessly as I thrash atop the furs. I cry as he pulls a long red ribbon from my hair, and with it binds my wrists behind me. I squirm and twist until I am facing him. A beam from the window casts his face with cold, ashen moonlight as I watch him toss the useless piece of wood into the earth. I don't know, like, I need to know how to say this in the right way. I haven't been seeing I know what it is. I haven't been seeing it in a really long time.
Hearth.
Hearth, that's it. Hearth, yes. I haven't been seeing in a really, really long time. Okay. And then I, as I said other times, I forget the pronunciation. Into the hearth. Shadows from the roaring flame flicker over his pallid features as the wood blackens and burns. There is no hunger in that deep green eye, no warmth, no desire. Only white, cold fury. Fury, sorry. Fur is another thing. Fury. I believe it's my turn to ask, he says, softly bending towards my ear. What exactly were you doing in these woods, Michelle? I told you I was lost. A lost girl does not sing like a songbird. What exactly were you hoping to find? Who are you, truly? I told you I'm Michelle. You may look like an angel, but I doubt you're innocent as one, my dear. I'll ask you one more time. Who are you? I'm... Oh yeah, Yes, it was said at the beginning, you didn't saw it, that this is the demo, and as a demo, some of the choices are locked. But if you get the full game experience, they are not going to be locked, okay? So you seem, maybe they even, I don't know, but maybe they have done this so you don't get into bad endings or something, you know? And honestly, that would be cool because I don't want to get into bad endings. You seem to have a good idea of who I am. So you couldn't bring yourself to lie after all. It's a mirror. Once again, connected to the Snow White. Honesty is a virtue, but how strange you never cared for being righteous. No, perhaps you just can't refuse that face, those eyes. Look at them. Look how he loathes you. Yet still you act like a foolish, lovesick girl. Some queen you are. You seem to have a good idea of who I am, dear. He grits his teeth at the word. What kind of consort would I be otherwise, my queen? He says with a short, bitter laugh. Now, do you care to tell me what on earth you think you're doing here? My dear prince, I could ask the same of you. Whatever are you doing alone in the middle of the wilderness, away from my castle? Inviting pretty young things to your bed, no less. I did not expect him to flinch at my words. The anger and pain that flashed through his face almost made me regret them. You hardly count as a maiden, sweetheart, he says sharply. And when did you have any right to criticize me? I never said a word about the scores of bloodied hearts you left in your wake. That is not what this is about. Then what is it about? Did you follow me? Did you think you could have your way with me if you stitched yourself a pretty new face? I did no such thing. I know your victims have to die before you sew into them. Did you murder an innocent girl for this pity plan? That final line makes my borrowed blood boil beneath my skin. You, how dare you, Gabriel? Have I ever been callous and unmerciful? Have I ever treated humans like my playthings? This girl was dead when I found her. He laughs. It is a short, dry, hollow sound, like the winter wind knocking against the walls. You haven't changed at all. A plaything? Is that not how you treat her now, wearing her corpse like a summer gown? I could try to calm the iron that pounds through my veins, the anger that courses with it, but I do not, I cannot. To have a heart and still is to have thought and feeling ring through every bit. I let my long-buried rage, my pain, bleed through every vein in my being. Aren't you curious how she died, my loyal consort? I ask, mirroring his bitter, mocking tone. Why? Why should I be? She was killed, I see, by a beast wearing the skin of a man, one of our kind. His expression freezes. And she was not the first. Countless maidens have gone missing from the mountains, turning up dead, drained and cold. Oh, so did she went there? Because I was like, maybe she went there for Gabriel? But maybe she actually went there to understand what was going on and who was the perpetrator that was doing this to the maidens. Colder than your eyes are now. And now, who should I find here but you? You think I did this? You think I killed them? Have you lost your mind? Well, I don't know if he lied to us, but imagine that. He really was like some kind of a medic. And he saw a lot of things that he didn't want to saw during the plague, and maybe he kind of like flipped or something. I don't know. Why would you hide yourself in the wilderness? Why would you disappear for months? Why wouldn't you tell me where you've gone? He goes quiet again, staring at me with a deadly gaze. His next words are nearly a whisper, but if words had weight, his would be heavier than stone. How dare you, Celine? How long have you known me? How many centuries have I followed you loyally? I never forced you to serve me. I did not beg you to follow me. I always gave you a choice. You didn't give me a choice when you turned me into this, he hisses, motioning to himself as he parts his hair from his face with a violent gesture. I look away. I cannot stare back at those eyes. He's right, after all. After all this time, you still despise me. I don't despise you. I despise myself for believing that you trusted me. I do not reply. I twist helplessly on the fur, still shaking, cursing my weakness, cursing the blood flush beneath my skin, warm and flowing and despicably human. What was I thinking? I thought I had prepared myself well. I am the Mist Queen, a woman who has walked the earth for a millennium, wearing as many faces as the moon. It should be child's play to appear to him an innocent maiden, test his loyalty, his intentions, discern his innocence or his guilt. And then, should I have found him fallen from grace, then I would fulfill the promise I make to each and every one of my faithful vassals, should ever their hunger outweigh their humanity. Yet, with him, could I fulfill the oath I made so long ago when I brought him back from death ash cold in my arms? Even knowing he could now be a monster, changed from the loyal knight I knew when I look at him now. So is he kind of like an homunculus or something? I don't know. I cannot see anything but the face of the kind young doctor I met in that sleepy town by the wood. The face of a man I loved lifetimes ago. Perhaps the Mist Queen could still her undead heart, cast aside her feelings. But foolishly, I've forgotten one thing when I donned this skin. Flesh weights down the spirit, memories housed in a foreign mind may as well be half-remembered dreams. I do not feel like a monarch, a queen, because at this moment I am not. Now I am a girl of barely 20 summers, trapped with a man glaring death at her, though his face is of an angel's and his voice honey-sweet haunts her dreams. Just being in his presence fills her, me, with nothing but longing. How could I not hunger so desperately for his touch? How could I not wonder at the thoughts behind the mask of his eyes, if there was still a place for me inside his unbeating heart? My heartbeat thumps so loudly in my ears as we watch each other in silence. Finally, he takes his long cloak from the stool, fastens it around his shoulder, and moves towards the door, cracking it open as the night air creeps its tendrils inside the cabin. Where are you going? I shift, trying weakly to stand up. To see if what you said is true. Liar, I know it when you avoid my gaze when you speak. You can't bear to be near me. You are leaving, now. I'll return. He pauses by the door frame, silhouetted against the snow, and inhales sharply. Stay put, there's still much I would ask you once you've cooled your head. Wait! He slams the door shut with a loud rattle. I don't hear his footsteps disappear into the cold, masked by the winter wind. Once I've cooled my head, you with your bitter sighs, Gabriel, you need as much as I do to calm down yourself. I take a deep breath and another, trying to push the thoughts from my mind. I fight the tears threatening to spill from this helpless girl's eyes, my eyes. I grit my teeth and finally pull myself upright. My hands are bound tightly behind me, but my legs are free, leaving me to walk about the cabin. It's easier to breathe without him near me, easier to think. I look at my surroundings. The fire still burns, offering precious warmth. Outside the short square window, the pines and birches bow in the wind. The night sky still swirls with snow. I think of the wolves, of yellow eyes and howls filling the shadows. I will not get far if I try to leave, if I could even break myself free. Perhaps I could find something here. Perhaps there was evidence in this place he safeguarded so well of his guilt. I had yet to find my proof, after all, and I would not hurt him without it. I could not. I know that in my heart now. Yet, I cannot stop the sudden coursing anger that burns beneath my cheeks. He bound me and left me here. Why should I believe he should return? Why should I risk letting you out of my sight? You can run from me, Gabriel. Okay, I need a minute in here to adjust my chair. Yeah. Okay. I kind of want to search the room, but I don't know if we can search the room with continue to being bonded, you know. So I decide to start by looking around the room. It is the picture of warm and solitary home, if cramped and unkept. Did he lure any victims here? Did any proof remain of lives taken and iron trained? The pain that flashed through his eyes was real. I know him that well, at least. I know his every look, the shape of his mouth, the tilt of his head, how his unwavering gaze burns in my dreams. But what was the cause of that anguish? Anger or guilt? If my gentle wolf is not a killer, then what secrets does he keep? I shuffle awkwardly through the piles of garments and furs strewn about, his clothes worn and mended over the years with his familiar crooked stitching. I kick them aside indignantly. My hunter has dexterous hands, even though his thick white gloves, but how he'll shake whenever he held a needle. I'll scoffed once when I saw how he struggled. Why should fabric trouble him when he'd once sutured flesh and sinew? God. He did not look at me nor speak to me for days. Some pieces are from recent decades, clean and neatly folded for once. I recognize each garment cut and sewn by my own hand. A dark waistcoat, I'll stitch it with a pattern of overlapping feathers. A lace shirt, I'll embroidered with tiny bell-shaped flowers and sickly-like leaves. How I nearly tore the skin off his back when he said he lost it. So they kind of have they already have some kind of story, history together. It almost feels as if the fabric on the floor before me is not clothing but costume. A costume for a pretend prince in the awful play written by my unlife. But that's not untrue. Our second marriage was more false than the first. Second marriage? Okay, I think of his cold kisses on the back of my hand, on my hair, whenever he parted from me for distant lands, whenever eyes were upon us. So maybe in the first one he was alive, and the second one is the one that they are probably living right now, and he's kind of not human, apparently. How well he played the part of the perfect and loving consort. How skillfully he hid his distaste for me. How adept he was at keeping his secrets. What secrets are you hiding, Gabriel? I sigh. There is nothing in the pile of clothing to suggest they belong to anyone but him. But just as I'm about to set them aside, I notice something peeking out from beneath a moth-eaten coat. Gingerly, I fish it out. It appears to be a hard leather case. The straps that hold it close are already loose. Cautiously, I pry it open. Oh, inside it is an instrument, a wooden lyre carved with a pattern of graceful songbirds. It is no master craftsman's work, but it was clearly made with a patient hand. Its surface is clean and polished. The strings look taut. It must still be tuned. I cannot stop the bitter feeling that swells in my throat as I behold this imperfect but beautiful thing. I don't remember the last time he so much as hummed a tune beneath his breath. He never sang for me, nor when I begged. I thought he had given up his music, buried his songs along with his past. It hurts now to know that wasn't the truth at all, that it was only me he would not sing for. Who then? Who do you sing for out in the wilderness alone? Who gets to hear your precious songs? I imagine for a moment kicking the instrument into the fire, watching the precious wooden birds carved on its surface blacken and cheer in the hearth. A desire that only grows the more I look at it. Oh my god, I'm not going to burn it. Leave it be. I stop that impulse before I do something I should regret, because we still don't know the reasons, okay? We don't know. We don't know. Why is he keeping the lyre? Why is he, I don't know, maybe even playing it? What is connected to? I know she's kind of acting in an impulsive and kind of jealous way, but it's, we still don't know the reasons. I look at the instrument and imagine him carving it painstakingly with his careful gloved hands, staining the wood, stretching taut the strings. I imagine him tentatively plucking the notes, drawing the song from the carved bird's beaks. I remember the other things I have broken and burned in front of him. On nights when I fed, when the memories were too much for my slow-beating heart to contain. Objects can always be replaced, I would say, more to console myself than him. Only once did I go too far. Only once did I take away something that could never be replaced. Though a lyre could be carved again, though it would feel satisfying to ruin it now, I know it would only lead to more regret soon after. I carefully shut the case and place it back beneath the pile of his clothes. I sit with my head against my knees for a long while, trying not to think, remember, or feel. Finally, I turn and glance at the shelf filled with herb jars and piled tomes with a deep fatigue. Shaking off my weariness, I awkwardly knock a loose volume from the shelf. It lands open on the floor with a thud. The pages are filled with his scrawling handwriting, notes and paragraphs in fading ink, nearly swallowing myriads sketches of plants and herbs. You never were one for keeping idle, were you? I nudged the book aside, sink down to the floor, and lean back against the bed. It's the living blood addling my senses, I think, but I can bear how much his presence fills this place. I can imagine him bent over the teetering table, jotting something down with his perfect, elegant gloved hands. Laying his hand on the pillow, listening to the mountain wind, eyes blinking closed, sleeping off the iron and pivot from spirits nowhere. Dreaming of something I can only guess at, for how many times have I heard him cry out in his sleep? It feels as if I am the intruder here. It feels as if this place itself is a piece of him I was never welcome to see. I continue my search without enthusiasm, finding no signs of any other inhabitants, willing or otherwise. It seems that no other soul has ever visited here, or that he cleaned after himself well. I stand up, only to collapse back onto the bed. The hours in the woods, the walk through the cold, the heated words, all have exhausted this weak and unfamiliar body. I need a moment's rest before I resume my search. I curse the iron, warm and flowing, running through my veins. The fire still burns in the earth, and the furs are so soft I only close my eyes for a moment. Like earth, right? I always forget the pronunciation of the thing. I stand in a long, empty hallway. Darkness is all around me, blacker than a night without a moon. A polished mirror stands in a gilded frame. I step towards it, my footfalls making no sound. My face stares back at me. Ashen and pale, framed by dull, dark hair, like a dim moon on a foggy night. My eyes are like slate, cold, gray, lifeless. I close them. When I open them again, she is gone. A new face stares back at me. A young woman with glossy black locks, bright red lips, and eyes that twinkle like jewels. Like what you see, my queen? Want to rip it off and wear it yourself? She asks, mouth twisting in a wicked smile. I step back from the mirror, but her voice still rings, growing louder. Do you remember my name, Celine? She asks. Do you remember the name of the corpse you stole from her grieving parents? Mia? I stammer. I had no choice. The girl in the mirror twists and morphs, screaming, laughing, flash shifting, and turning until her skin rests, finally in a shape far too familiar. Do you remember my name, Celine? Do you remember the name you borrowed when you stole my skin? Wore my flesh? Played house with my corpse? Of course I remember. Calliope? What's his name? Endymion. The eternal dreamer. It fits him. He laughs, gently patting the sleeping lamb. Yeah, all of these flowers have a connection. These flowers that you're seeing in here, and you saw like on the other ones, these flowers are connected to death. Autumn, 336 years ago. I was lucky beyond lucky when I found this body. This poor woman, of course, was not. She'll slipped and broken her neck, falling from a muddy trail in the hills. A foolish risk to take, all for a helpless lamb. I could have drained her body dry, and oh, I was tempted. I was ravenous that day when I found her, full to bursting with iron. But I tempered my hunger. I stitched her back up very, very carefully, until she looked as good as new, like she'd never so much as taken a tumble. Well, save the crescent moon carved beneath the crook of her collar like an old faded scar. Hungrier than ever in my brand new skin, I devoured the lamb. Then I walked through the hills, through the wood, to her, now my home. With her flock all to myself, I would not go hungry for quite some time. She was an eccentric one, to say the least, this girl. Solitary and aloof, she kept to herself with only her prized sheep as company. The townsfolk whispered unkind things about her. She showed them little interest in turn. Who would notice if her mind and heart had turned? Her animals did, at first, but they learned quickly to obey their new master. I had roamed for a very, very long time. Now to suddenly spend my days in a quaint countryside town, tending fluffy fat white sheep as days and seasons passed me by. Such idleness was like Arcadia, pure, wonderful, Alcyon calm. My new form wasn't terrible to look at, either. It was strange to see her face stare back at me in the creek's surface, her large dark eyes and round, freckled cheeks. But her hair was lovely, bright red like flames, like the fleeting leaves of autumn before they wither and cover the ground in muddy, dying browns. Spring and autumn, I'll always love the transitory seasons. Cool but bright, and unlike my kind, fleeting. Winter, then spring, then summer had all passed when he arrived. The greens had just begun to turn to gold, copper and ruby. The nights bled longer into the days, sunsets and sunrises striking through the sky like open wounds. Like many creatures that stalk through the waxing cold, I was hungry. Hungry for human blood. I thought he was a traveler. I had never seen his face before. I still don't know what we are also. What kind of Apparently, we are not human. So, what kind of creature or fantasy, folklore kind of thing are we? I thought he was a traveler. I had never seen his face before. I would remember it if I had. His steps were so light I barely heard them sound through the forest trail. But I could hear his voice, clear as bell, humming a small song to himself. I listened and I watched him through the trees. He wore plain clothes, mended and remended with clumsy stitches. He was tall, his strides were long. His hair, too, was long and fell loosely behind his back, its silver strands framing his brow. How it shone in the evening sun, whiter than the fleece of the lamb. I waited as he drew near. And then I screamed. I didn't expect to sleep and genuinely hurt myself. I didn't expect to need his help. It was your fault for distracting me, I say, more to myself than to him. I'll kick you if it wasn't for this bloody sprain. I can't advise that, demoiselle. You'll hurt yourself again. He stops as I lean against him and mutters something unintelligible. Do you need to rest? He asks softly, voice tinged with concern. You've only just met me. Why do you care? Carry me back. I can't walk anymore. I didn't expect him to literally sweep me off my feet. I was joking. This is fine, he says, as lightly as my body apparently weighs. You're like a feather. Just hurry back before it gets too dark. You will be alright. The moon is full tonight, see? The trees in the path ahead clear their branches from the sky. As he walks, I look up and see her full, bright face shine down on me. So she is, I murmur. The lamb is much more weary than I am, forced to walk the long trail on its own legs, and falls fast asleep as its mother sighs. What's his name? The stranger, no longer a stranger, asks. Who? This little one whom you went through so much trouble for, he replies, motioning to the slumbering lamb. I look up at the sky, at the moon and her stars, and say the first thing that comes to mind. Endymion. The eternal dreamer, it fits him, he laughs, gently patting its soft fleece. There is something beautiful about the sound of his laughter as it leaves his lips. It reminds me of the notes of a lyre lovingly tuned, of a song I'd once heard in a time and place far, far from these sleepy woods. Perhaps it's the blood that flows within me, the fatigue of this human frame. Night was never the domain of the living that plays with my senses. It feels for a moment like I am standing inside a deep and pleasant dream. The wind gently caresses a strand of his long hair, silver as the moon above us, as he turns to me with a look of embarrassment. How silly of me. I asked for this young lad's name before yours, demoiselle. My name is Gabriel, he says warmly. And you are? The days grew colder and darker, autumn bleeding into winter. The old year breathed its last. A new one sprung from its ashes as the night grew short. My body did not change. But the world around me did. The days grew warmer as the earth bloomed into spring and then finally summer. Like the seasons, my aloofness as his presence gradually turned to acceptance. And then, before I knew it, fondness. Soon after, he was in my thoughts every night. Instead of the nightmares, the centuries of memories that tormented me in my sleep, I saw his face, smiling. I heard his voice, clear and lilting, soothing me with a gentle song. He had always smiled at me, even when I stared past him, stone-faced, arrogant, disinterested. But now, when I smiled back, the way his eyes would shine and brighten his entire face, I felt that of all the people in the world, I was the only one you looked at that way. The day would come when he knelt before me on one knee. I can't marry you, I tell him, stealing my voice. I turn my back so he cannot see my face. Won't you tell me why? He asks quietly, with tenderness, without hurt. Because this body will wither soon when the blood of my flock runs dry or the villagers find out what I am. Because to be at your side heightens that risk of 100-fold. Because I'm not among the living, though my cheeks grow red and my heart flutters against my will when I look at you, when I hear you speak these words. They make me forget what I am, make me wish for what I must never desire. I can't give you children. I know, but I'm not a lord or a prince. I don't need you to bear my flesh and blood. Besides, I know nothing can replace the lambs as your little ones. I wish I could tell you I tend to them so tenderly because they are my lifeblood. I hardly have the means to keep a hearth and home. You've seen me the way I live. But you can stitch and sew like no one I've ever seen, and I'm a half-decent cook at the very least. If only you weren't so sweet. I still cannot. You dislike me? No, spirits, If you don't feel the same way for me, then I'll leave your side at once and forever. You fool. I love you more than you could ever imagine. I love you more than the moon loves her fiery star, more than anything and everything I've ever held dear in the long centuries I've walked through mist and earth. I want so much to hold you and never let you go. Then don't torture me so. Please say yes. Please make me the happiest man in this world. If only I were myself, my true self, could I have refused you? But I was not. At that moment, I were and I was the foolish young woman who loved you. There was guilt in the back of my mind and the far corners of my heart in the days that followed. Guilt, a foolish and human emotion. But I was so happy I could bury it beneath the flood of joy that flowed through me, that poured from my heart like a fountain. It seeped back slowly, a poison in my veins on the eve we were wed. I knew that to take your hand, to walk this path, was to take a step I could not turn back. That perhaps the gods and their icons, if ever they lived, would not forgive. Yet I was steeped so much in sin and blood and cruelty already. I had taken so much, stolen so much to continue my existence. But I did not merely wish to simply exist any longer. You made me wish, for the first time since I had truly been alive, to live. Perhaps he sensed that hesitation, the feeble, silent cry of my conscience. We don't have to. We can wait if you're not ready. Why did his words only make me grow hungrier? I want this. I shut his soft, sweet lips with mine. The body that I wore when I spoke my vows to you was both living and unliving. A body that was not mine to live with, to love with. But the heart that beat like a butterfly's wings when you kissed me traced the crooked moon beneath my collar as you slipped free the laces from my wedding gown. It beat like my own. The skin that lighted like embers as you held me in your hands. Every inch of it felt like my own. I loved him too much to stop. I hungered more for his touch than the sweetest taste of iron on my tongue. Though the name he whispered into my ear was not mine, the tenderness with which he spoke it belonged only to me. What did it matter what shape I wore, what form his fingers traced, or gentle arms embraced? Your arms were made only to hold me. Your eyes were made only to behold me. Your heart should beat only if it loves me. There, laying my head against his chest, lulled by the rhythm of his gentle heart, I thought of my body. My true body laying cold beneath the earth. I wish that I, could feel this warmth, this fragile thing that I had now in my hands. I would cling to it until death again parted me from him. Until my aging, undead form finally grew still. It would be a love as fleeting as a red leaf fleeting through the autumn wind. Perhaps it was cruel of me to do so, but I could be no less callous than fate or time. Humans can hold memories for a lifetime after all, yet they move ever forward, because they must. Because that is what it means to walk among the living. He would live a long, storied life, and I would be a brief but cherished memory in his heart. Just as I would hold him forever in my immortal and unbeating one. Or so I had thought. That night, cradled in his arms, I see the face of the girl whose skin I wear in my dreams, melting away into blood and bone. 333 years old. Years ago, sorry. Years old. That would be a person that would be really, really old, yeah. But she's older than that. She's older, but what we don't understand yet is like, is she some kind of like a spirit or something? I don't know. Like a god, a spirit. Yeah. I smile now at the villagers when I walk through town. I no longer hum only to myself as I spin wool into thread and thread into cloth. I share my joy with the birds, the flowers, the lambs, him. Like fabled Arcadia or fair Elysium, my tranquil days pass by in peace. Yet sorrow does not temper joy. it only makes it grow sweeter by contrast. And sorrows do passes. He loses a patient for the first time, a mother to childbed fever. Soon one of her sickly newborn twins follows her. How it eats at him, my poor sweet gentle lamb. I console him that day as best I can. I have seen so much death, been the cause of it at times. I do not know what words he needs. But I hold him tightly and let him hold me. Then at night, I lull him to sleep. Sleep from our bed and feed on the iron still sweet. Mother and son are buried together. Nobody notices that the corpses are lighter. Still it waits on my beloved in the days that follow the image of that unbreathing baby. And the weak, weeping one left behind. And so against the last fraying strands of my better judgment, I tell him, let us take in that child as our own. I saw the head of a small woolen doll suturing the seam along its neck with a long red thread. It is a lamb, its fleece is made of the softest wool I could spin. When I finish with its head, I take a thick black thread and give it new eyes, adding tiny little stitches for a twinkle in each one. Finally, I take another red thread for its mouth, stitching it a small sweet smile. Every stitch must be perfect. It must be perfect. I work slowly and deliberately. I am careful, ever so careful, not to prick myself. I never enjoy the sight of the iron escaping this flesh. So the iron in here, it means blood. So I yelp with surprise when I notice him behind me. Spirits, why don't you make any noise when you walk? Did I startle you? He asks sheepishly. Just as I'm about to settle back into my chair with my needlework, a loud wail comes from the bedroom. And now you've woken him. I rush towards the wooden cradle in our chamber, lift the crying infant into my arms, and rock him gently, saying, "Oh, hush, my love, my little lamb. Mamma is here." Holding him in my arms, I start to sing. Come to rest in my embrace. Let the moon hold you safe in her light and her grace. Should the clouds shroud your way, or the mist hide her ashen face, I shall guide you home in her place. I was just like kind of humming it, stuff like that. The babe is fast asleep before I finish the last verse of the song. I set him down in his blankets and sigh, closing my eyes for a moment. As I stand, my beloved rests his head on my shoulder and holds me from behind. Nestled in his arms, I let him lead me back to the seat in front of the hearth. It feels so warm and blissful to be cradled myself. My love plants a kiss on my red hair before he settles beside me. "Forgive me," he whispers. "I just wanted to watch you work." "You are forgiven, this time, but don't you dare sneak up on a woman with a needle again." He laughs very quietly, a sound sweeter than a lyre's tune, a robin's song. "I shall not." I finished stitching the doll as we sit in each other's company. I thought I was deft at stitching wounds, he whispers, but I've never seen anyone as skilled with a needle as you. One of my many talents, perhaps you could learn a thing or two from me. Humble as always, my darling, he laughs softly. I wish I could bottle that sound and listen to it for eternity. Once I'm finally satisfied with my work, I check back on the babe, holding the doll in my hands. He is still sleeping soundly. You have a magic touch, my darling. He's yet to fall asleep so quickly when I sing to him. I smile. That's not true, my love. Who would dare slumber when you sing? The baby boy before me, so warm and small, he must dream so gently as his small chest rises and falls. His cheeks are pink and round, his short curls soft as down. A happy coincidence that his hair is as red as mine. I've almost forgotten what my own dark locks looked like. Maybe she was kind of like a witch or something. I don't know. I would miss this flame-colored hair, a silly thing to treasure, perhaps among so many things more precious than I would lose. But I would always have a fondness for it now. As I watch him, the fullness in my heart unravels to something cold, gnawing, and dark. I'll let myself forget for a moment and believe that he could truly be mine. Mine to nurture and love, to care for and watch over as he grew. My chest twists like a spine has been driven through it. I know it is wicked of me. Leaving him a widower is crueler enough, but now a boy without a mother. At least they won't be alone without me, I think, as my beloved nuzzles my cheek, wraps his arms around me. I close my eyes. Even if it's for the briefest moment, for the first time since... No, even before I drew my last breath as my true self, I have a family. Just for this moment, they are mine and only mine. I rest in their warmth, my beloved's arm around my waist, my son sleeping softly before me, for just a little while longer. Finally, reluctantly, I break free. Watch over him while I run to the market, I whisper, carefully smoothing over my little one's blankets. Are you sure? I don't mind. I need some fresh air. I sleep outside, but not towards the market square. An emptiness within my house, like an abyss waiting to be fed. I'm afraid I would devour both you and this child if I gave in to that hunger. Though 331 years ago. He injures his back in a careless accident while trying to repair the old fence. He did so against my protests. I just want to make certain nothing else gets to your darling lambs. Okay, I just want to make certain nothing else gets to your darling lambs. Okay, he said. I was trying to understand the sentence. His words twist like a knife in my gut. How could I tell you the true beast that devoured them stands right here before you, her guilty eyes brimming with tears? As I help him wash that evening, he laughs and tries to reassure me, wincing sharply as he does. This is nothing to worry about, my love. I'm simply getting old. Look at my white hair. Oh, stop. Just be careful, please. I look down out of shame and see our reflections stare back at me in the water basin. He has only just turned 9 and 20. 9 and 20. 29? The same age that once long ago my true body met its end. My beloved wears his age beautifully, the glow of youth still alive in his skin, tempered by his calm and graceful manner. But the face that I wear looks not a day over 19. I have not changed as the years passed us by, and I will not change. The unkind whispers about me had never ceased completely. Some gossiped that I was a witch or a creature of the mists. Yeah, I was kind of like, is she some kind of a witch or something? That I'll cast a glamour over myself and fed my husband's poisons to capture his heart. That I'll curse the woman with death to steal her bright-eyed baby for myself. Why would a man like him ever take her for a wife, they say. If she were a fairy, she should have picked a prettier face to wear. Her eyes are like coal. How true! Aren't they dreadfully lifeless? They were foolish and petty, but more right than they knew. And just perhaps there was more truth to their cruel words than I first thought. What if it was not death that would part me from him? What if he casts me aside? My beloved was like the sun, radiant, giving warmth to all he touched, ever ready with a bright smile or kind words. Laughter and music were like breathing to him. It was hard to pull a smile or song from my mouth in contrast. But was that any fault of mine? If he smiled so easily, didn't that mean the ones he gave me were less precious, less meaningful, less special? Why should you smile for anyone but me? Why should you sing for anyone but me? You are at the widow's house often, I say, seeing him pack his doctor's bag and head for the door. The collar of his shirt, the one I mended for him, sits crooked around his neck. I straighten it for him, wondering freely if my body would have the strength to strangle him if I needed to. Her boy isn't doing well, he replies. His voice sounds so distant, mirrored with concern. Was he worried for her child or for her? It could actually be like the reverse, like she was just calling him because she wanted to be with him and seeing him. You have some women like that too. My beloved had given a beautiful eulogy when her partner passed, and oh, how prettily she cried. She had a loveliness that not even her reddened eyes nor disheveled braids could lessen. He handed her his handkerchief, the one I had stitched for him, painstakingly, with bell-shaped flowers and green leaves, the one that matched his hair and eyes. How could something I gave you be so easily handed away? When I thought of her face with her glossy locks and fair skin and bright eyes, who looked so lovely even as she wept, and wept. I think it's wept. And her lively young son clinging to her skirts. Her healthy child who ran and laughed like children should. I wanted to bleed the iron dry from them both. When I saw my plain face and stringy red locks in the creek's surface, when my son, still so small for his age, cried or fevered or would not eat, I wanted to tear off my own skin. Were you only concerned in a doctor's sense of duty, or was there something else? Whatever do you mean, darling? I didn't realize I'd spoken my thoughts aloud. I don't remember what I said, what I accused him of, what words I cried, then screamed at him. Only the misery I felt and the growing anguish written on his face. I wanted to hurt him. I wanted him to feel what I did, to hurt like I did. It was because of him I felt this pain. It was because of him that I knew joy. But it was because of him that I now suffered so much in my heart. Suffered from the knowledge that I would have to lose him. And I could not utter a word of it to him, for he was human and I was not. He was gloriously and joyfully alive, and I was only half living, one half of my heart above the ground, the other buried beneath the earth. He was alive and I was not, and time would only tear him away from me. I would be gone, and he would replace me with someone more beautiful, more devoted, a better mother, a happier wife. And then I would wither away in his memories, and nothing that remained of my love for him would be left. I could not bear the thought of anyone else at his side, any other person on this earth, receiving his brightest smile, his tenderest caress. The thought of his hands encased in gloves knitted by another, fingers entwined around another's. He was mine. He belonged to me. Why couldn't he remain mine? Why did I have to let him go? Why did I have to go back to being alone? He could not offer the words to comfort me because he did not know the depths of my anguish. Nor did seeing the pain mirrored in his expression bring me satisfaction. I should die, I think I told him. I should die if you ever left me. I shall hurl myself off the cliffs. That is when he held me so tightly, I thought I would burst. I beg of you, don't speak such words to me. If you die, I shall follow. If I lose you, I lose everything I have. Whatever harm may befall me, I can endure, but to see you or our child hurt, my soul could not bear it. What a fool I became, I realized. Foolish and jealous and flawed, almost as if I really were human. I was so tired then, I should have apologized. But I simply collapsed onto the floor and cried. Then I promised him I would not speak these words again. He kissed my brow and stroked my hair, and then he swore to me in turn. I love you so much, Calliope. I'll always love you. I'll never leave your side, not until the day I die. That's enough talk of dying today, I say, my throat dry. I've made you late. Be on your way. He sweeps me back and kisses me until I am out of breath before he does. Later that night, as I wait for his return, the sheep in their pen, our son dozing on my lap, supper growing cold in the pot, do I realize the gravity of what he said. If you die, I shall follow. If I lose you, I lose everything I have. I didn't know whether to be happy or afraid. I knew I would soon have to die. I would have to leave this place. But did I have to leave him behind? Did you truly mean your words? I was going to be like, did you truly meant? Like, as I told you before, like, I'm always thinking about, like, it's because of my own language. I'm always putting the verbs in the past. Because it's like, if the word, like if the action already happened for us, in my own language, it's like it's in the past. It's not a present anymore. His steps are so quiet, I don't hear him come up from the path until the swings open the gate. I rush to meet him by the door. The devastation on his face stops me dead in my tracks. "330 years ago. The boy's cough had turned to something much, much worse. "Gabriel, please, we should leave too. You can save everyone here." "You should take our son and go, my love. I'll write to my father's relatives." "Not without you, never." "I should be dead. I should die here, not you." "Please," I beg, falling to my knees before him. He lowers himself down to my weight, holds me in his arms, and says, in that voice ever gentle, ever soothing, "This is my duty, my love. I can't leave when there are people I can save." "Our child needs saving. He needs his father." "He'll have you." No. No. He won't. I want to scream. "He'll hate me. He'll never call me Mama again if he finds out what I am." "Why are you so willing to give your life for the sick and helpless? Why won't you live for me? You said you would never leave me." "Calliope, please. I love you and our boy more than anything on this earth. But how could I be a man worthy of you if I run away from the oath I swore to keep? You are a knight's son, through and through." I realized then that he is my everything, but I am not everything to him. I am simply a girl whose heart you can break whenever you please. I should throw his body away and see what you think then. How would you regret your words once you lowered me into the grave? I thought, suddenly, of my true face, my true self, laying in the earth. It felt so very long ago when she was I and I was she. I scarcely thought of her as myself any longer. Perhaps it did not matter whether he foolishly threw his life away. Perhaps there was another way. A way to keep him by my side forever, damn death, or time, or fate. If you won't go, then I must stay too. Darling, remember what I swore to you, in sickness and in health, until death part us. This too is my duty. You are mine always, but I too am yours, no matter what happens. He closes his beautiful eyes. We can let our child be orphaned again. He needs you. He needs his living parents, you fool. We won't. No, I will not lose him either. Our son lives with a wagon of other children and stone-faced families for a province to the south. He has to be torn from my arms. My beloved hands him, with tears in his eyes, to that lovely young widow whose face I wanted to steal. How protectively she holds my little boy. How fiercely she swears to me to guard him. How brave and noble she looks, carrying another's child to safety even as she mourns a family of her own. I should hate her even more. But my heart is too full of misery and helplessness for more bitter resentment. He is so small and frail. What will he do when he wakes in the arms of a stranger? With neither of us by his side to hold him, sing to him, soothe him. Will he remember me? Will he think I abandon him, will he hate me for it? As long as you survive, as long as you grow up healthy and hale, you can despise me all you wish. When you are grown, I will find you again, my love, my lamb. I did not birth you, I feasted on your kin. But I am and always will be your mother. Late in the night, my beloved pores over books, texts, treatises, searches for anything at all that might offer a cure. I stay by his side as the candles burn, tirelessly preparing remedies to soothe the pains, herbs to mask the rot, incense to cleanse the pyres of bones charred and bodies burned. Gabriel, please, you'll be of help to no one if you collapse. He sways unsteadily. I try to pull his tail frame into his chair. He falls against it and pulls me with him into his knees. There he holds me for a long, long time. You are always right, my love. I only... He rests his head back in his seat and within seconds, in sound asleep. Unable to move him, I bring a blanket of heavy wool and cover him as best I can. I lay down alone in our bed that night. It had always felt so narrow. But now it is impossibly vast and empty without him. The rod has grabbed us his arm. It eats at his right hand, covering his fingers in dark and foul splotches. His face contorts in pain when I change his bandages. It's no good. It's better I lose this arm than try to save it. My handwriting was already legible anyway. Was hardly legible. My handwriting was hardly legible anyway. He tries to laugh through gritted teeth. How can you smile at a time like this? We unearthed his father's swords from the chest beneath our bed. Its steel blade still glistens. I had always wondered why he maintained it, this beautiful deadly thing forged to kill. Perhaps he knew it would someday have its use. It didn't save him. His stump begins to rot as well, and soon the rest of his body follows. His vision goes first. His right eye becomes filmy and swollen. He coughs and he coughs and he coughs and he coughs. Iron, I don't know how to say this. Escaping his, I don't know. I know what it means, but I don't know how to say it. Escaping his pale lips. Sorry, I don't know. I would have to see it. But I know what it is. I have not had human blood in so very long. The healthy have fled the sick taste of bitter ash. My body at last is fading alongside his. I knew I was playing a cruel game, but fate had to be crueler still. He was so full of life and kindness and love. His time could not end here. There was so much more he could do, so much he could give. Those were the reasons I gave myself afterward, a list of causes, noble and benevolent. Yet in the present, in those awful dying moments, the only truth in my heart was that I could not let him slip away from me. I could not bear to walk this world without him. I would hold on to you for eternity and never let you go. He lies unmoving on a straw mat, barely recognizable as human beneath his bandages. The incense burning in the room does little to mask the stench of rot and dying flesh. Oh, okay. Somehow he clings to life. The slow, haggard sounds of his gasps, the faintest movements of his ribcage, the only proof he still breathes. His throat is too thick with I don't remember how to say it. Phlegm? I don't know how to say it. But if it's going to appear again, I probably need to know. Phlegm. Oh, you say like phlegm. Because I was like, maybe it's like phlegm? Yeah. His throat is too thick with phlegm and blood to do anything but gag on the water I offer him. His remaining eye, once bright as spring, stares out, hazy and unfocused, unable to meet mine. But I know he can hear me, sense that I am by his side. I cradle his bandaged face, sing softly to him as I hold what's left of his remaining hand, and wait for the last breath to leave his lips. Only then do I leave his side and walk, with what little strength remaining in my borrowed bones, to the place deep in the woods where I buried myself. I attach a new arm to his flesh, sew new fingers to his hands, stitch new nails to each one. I stitch close his wounds, working as careful as my impatience allows. My hands were always deft in my borrowed form, but compared to my own skin, may as well have been a child's clumsy fingers. Such freedom is like stretching my wings after being cocooned. I cannot wait to share this feeling with you, my love. I do the best I can with what I can scavenge, sighing as I work. A habit of being alive, what need did I have to breathe now? Oh, how I wished I could find another eye so green the color of spring leaves. But this cold, dark one will have to do. I cut away his old skin, stretched a new one over his flesh, and stitch him tight until he is perfect, ashen, flawless. Save for the crooked crescent moon I carve into his wrist. From my heart I give him my lifeblood, my ichor into his marble lips. I pour iron from my discarded body's veins. Then I wait and I watch as his eyes flicker open. I cradle his head against my chest, my fingers intertwined around his wispy silver locks. Welcome back, my love, I whisper. His body still for a moment at rest in my arms, then his eyes go wide. Suddenly he pushes me back, staring at me in confusion and panic. What happened? My wife, where is she? Darling, it's me, your Calliope. Recognition does not light up in his eyes. I had thought, foolishly, that he would know me in any form. But he was only human. Calliope was a very devoted woman, if you know about the myth, and she would sew all the time. So I think there's a connection in there. He brings his hand before his face and stops. Slowly he turns his flawless fingers over, staring at each other. I don't know if you say Calliope or Calliope, or you probably say it in another way. I'm kind of like saying it more in the way we would say in here, but you probably say it in another way. I watch as his features twist in confusion, realization, and finally, horror. He jerks away from me and climbs to his feet. There, I see his fear and revulsion only grow as he scans the room. In my haste, I had not cleaned after myself. I watch as his eyes fall on the bodies, the torn flesh and skin and iron and bone. On a skull with long and once lovely red hair, its one empty socket gouged out. Then he screams and buries his face in his beautiful hands and screams again. Who? What are you? What have you done? So he's really kind of like an homunculus. And her, I don't actually know very well what she is. He asks me a few questions and speaks a few words. He does nothing but stare. Stare at the charred remains of the pyres against the sky day and night. Stare at his hands, his perfect hands, as if they are the ashen claws of a beast. He does not drink unless I force the iron down his lips. One night, after a long hunt, I return to find the house empty, his familiar form gone from his vacant seat, leaving nothing behind but the memories of the life we once shared. So autumn, 300 years ago, it was 30 years before I saw him again. He'll cut his beautiful silver hair short, haphazardly, strands of it falling over his bandaged eye. He wore a shirt of iron rings beneath a muddy jerkin, the emblem of some lord emblazoned on it, faded and scratched from battle. On his forearms he wore hard leather vambraces, over his hands rough, worn gloves. Oh, if I had been sated then, I would have wept. I had 30 years to walk alone, to wash the human senses from my mind and return to the creature that I was, cold, unchanging, unfeeling. I had traveled south in search of my child. I wondered if you had done the same. I would not give him the cruel fate I granted you. I only wanted to gaze at him from a distance, wish him well, see how he'll grow. But families fleeing plague and pestilence is a story too common in these lands where the mists once fell. Nobody could recall a widow carrying a red-haired boy. My poor sweet darling was always so fragile, so frail. The journey would have been difficult for him even without the threat of sickness. Oh, if only... On the nights that I hunted, gorged on iron, red and sweet until my heart again started to beat, the memories would come back to me. I would think of him and of you. I longed for you so ardently. I wanted both to hold you and tear you to pieces, to rip the beautiful skin I'll stitch for you to shreds. To sink my fangs into your throat and watch the ichor drain from your snow-white flesh. I would curse your name and cry for you in the same breath. I would wonder if you had ever loved me as deeply, as endlessly as I love you. I would cry for your return, for you were mine, you were mine. You were always mine. Then I would weep and sing myself to sleep. But even when the flow of blood had gone from my veins, deep within my still heart, I still loved you. Beneath that, I resented you. But above all, I missed you so keenly, so terribly, as if a piece of myself was gone. There, standing before you in that field again, I could have fallen to my knees and wept to see what you'll become. My gentle, harmless lamb, I'll change it you. I'll turn it you against your nature, force it you to hunt and maim. To take the role of a common soldier, how starved had you been? How desperate that you'll sip like a carrion crow on the bodies that littered the battlefield. I knew how much it must have tortured you. But as long as humans wear it, we of the dead should never go hungry. That thought was a sharp and bitter feeling in my cold heart. A waste of the precious life given to them, if only. There, you drop to the ground and kneel at my feet. Gabriel, how I longed to hold you in my arms, caress your face. Oh, when I saw you, decades apart may as well have been days. I would beg your forgiveness, I would kiss your sweet lips and sigh, just as I open my mouth to speak. I cannot walk beside you as your husband, my lady, you said. The shepherdess I loved died in that village, alongside the man that I was. If my heart was not already dead, it would have turned to stone and crumbled away to dust. But I cannot walk alone any longer, I can't. I have no path to follow now but yours, no other purpose to serve than yours. Please, let me devote myself to you. In your voice, I heard the lost lamb begging to be guided, to be left alone no longer. A feeling I knew all too well. Rise, sweet Gabriel. I am happy you returned to me. I only ask one thing, you replied, still kneeling. If I ever lose myself, go mad for blood, turn into a monstrous being, you must destroy me. Don't speak such words to me. Promise me. You stared at me with one green eye, pleading. Even as my true self, it seemed I could not refuse you after all. Very well, I promise. Winter present. I woke up to the sound of the crackling fire, smoky, savory scent thick in the air. I try to stretch my limbs but cannot move my arms. The cabin, that night, the woods, the wolves. Him. I sit straight up on the furs, my arms and bond wrists aching painfully behind my back. I try to stop the pounding in my chest, a thing that should be so easy. But not when I'm half alive in an unfamiliar skin. Not when I'm weak, iron-addled, filled with the lingering, crushing weight of 1,000 useless memories. At the other side of the room, he sits on the stool, tending to a large pot over the fire. Steam wafts from it, carrying the scent of boiling roots and herbs, bones and meat. Dry, bloodless meat. I try to calm my nerves. I try to remember what I came here to do. To stop a monster from harming any more innocent souls. And if that monster should be the knight I made a vow to so long ago, to keep that promise. I try to shake off the traces of half-painted, worthless dreams that cloud my resolve, but their shadows linger in my heart. So now we actually reached the motives she actually went there, to see if it was him, and in a certain way to keep her promise to him. Perhaps it's because he's changed from the night before. Now the faintest trace of color painted his cheeks. His pale brow no longer looked so cold, the iron flowing slow, sluggish beneath his skin as he spoons up broth into the small bowl and sets it on the table before me. Whatever creature gave its life for this meal sated him as well. "You must be starving in that form," he states plainly. My stomach does rumble at the scent, but I ignore it. I stare at the bowl, then at him. I still my mind and my voice, burying the embers that flicker in my heart like ash. "Well, my hunter, what did you find?" "Pyres burning in the villages. Families mourning their daughters, like you said." He sounds so pained, so angered. I could believe his ignorance, his innocence. But doubt still lingers in my mind. Can I believe you? You who can spin lies into songs that sound sweeter than truth. You who can pretend to all the world to be my dearest prince, then look at me in revulsion when we're alone. You who swore you would love me for all your days and never leave my side, but now flee from me at every opportunity. Who are you? Perhaps the man I thought I knew died long ago. Perhaps I never knew you at all. I don't know what to be more furious about, that you try to use yourself as bait or that you try to ensnare me. I ignore his remark. Did you find any trace of our killer? Or is he in the room with me? No, not yet. He motions to the ball. Eat first, it will go cold if you don't. So I've noticed. Have you forgotten that somebody tied my hands behind my back? Answer me and I'll release you. What did you plan to do to me? If I am honest, I do not know anymore. I thought I would wait for him to sink his fangs into my flesh, but could I have stabbed him then? I think of how it felt when his lips brushed my skin. How desperately I wanted his touch, that touch he could never give me. How it felt so blissful to bury myself in his arms. I feel the heat rise in my skin, not from the fire, and shift away. I planned to fulfill the promise I made to you in that autumn field, if you ever lost yourself. Should you fall to your instincts, become the monster that humanity called you? Turn around, he utters quietly. I do as he says. I wait in agony as his gloved hands fumble against the tightly knotted ribbon that binds my arms. Did you have to tie it so damnly tightly? I curse. Did you have to follow me in a stolen body? He mutters in reply. After struggling for some minutes, he gives up and searches through a wooden chest beneath the table, fishing out a small leather case. I recognize it. A sewing kit filled with needles, pins, a thimble, and small pair of scissors that his gloved fingers can barely squeeze into. Is that one of mine? I ask. You lent it to me decades ago, threw it at me to be precise. My coat had lost a button, but you were angry at me that day and refused to mend it. I remember. I watched you refuse to take your gloves off and struggle for half an hour until I finally gave in and did it for you. It takes another minute for the small scissors to cut through the thick, twisted cord. The stew has indeed cooled by then. I rub my sore wrists and try to grip my spoon, but curse as it slips from the aching hand, clattering onto the table. Before I can reach for it again, he takes it first. Will you allow me? I can sense the unspoken words on his tongue. I know what he means to say. I'm sorry. Let him. Fine. I waited as he scoops the broth into the spoon and gingerly extends it to me. I lean forward, biting down on it tentatively, and swallow. It's simple but savory, far better than a meal thrown together in the wilds has any right to be. Perhaps it is only the excitement of that long-forgotten sense returning to me. Taste. A taste that brings me back to a small house in a countryside town, rain pattering outside the windows. A song sweeter than a lyre's notes on his lips, the babe in my lap, giggling as he plays with my hair. Giggling. Sorry, not giggling. Giggling. This happens because I'm reading it very raw, and then I understand that I'm not reading it the right way. I swallow the memory as I bite down on the spoon. It tastes just like how you used to make it. He looks at me with an irritable expression as I take another spoonful, then another. Once I have finished the bowl, he rises to his feet. For a moment, his eyes rest on the empty space by the bed next to me, but he quickly settles onto the low stool by the hearth instead. Did you find what you were looking for? What? I know you searched through my things. They are a mess now. They were a mess to begin with. If anything, I left them neater. How would we be able to leave them neater if we had our hands our arms kind of like bond? I stopped myself from continuing this useless conversation any further. No, my hunter, you clean after yourself well. You seemed so sure that I lured your lost victims. But how would the funeral pyres have bodies to burn if I brought them here? Not here, then. Did you attack them in the forests, in their homes? What are you hiding, then? A secret lover? I say the words half as a jest, but didn't expect him to react so strongly. No, I never lured anyone to my bed. At least not until last night. When you saw this face? When I knew it was you wearing it, spirits. Is it a crime now to seduce my own wife? I looked down at my hands. Why did that sentence make my skin feel so warm? But I wouldn't have taken it that far, not with that body. Of course you wouldn't. You never touched me at all. Not since you slipped another ring on my finger did you hold my hand once without those damned gloves. With the beautiful hands that I made for you. You're in another woman's skin, Celine. If I wanted to. What is it that you want, Gabriel? Your pretty little shepherdess is never coming back. You would say shepherdess, right? Yeah. Why do you keep coming back? Why do you return to me if you despise me so? Why become my consort in the first place? Why couldn't we just stay at arm's length, the way we were? Lady and knight, shepherdess and lamb, a love that burned once, but was destined to smolder into cold white ash. Not this lie, not this tale we wrote for the world. Take heed before ye iron bleed, for the ashen prince will come forth he. With heart of stone and cloak of snow, where the mist queen wanders he shall go. Why couldn't I let you go? Why does that thought, even now, tear me into 1,000 pieces? I don't despise being at your side. Liar. I only wish you would listen to me for once. I He stops, lips frozen mid-sentence like a statue. Then, without a sound, he cranes his head as if trying to hear something above the winter's wind. What is it? He motions for me to be quiet. I'm not finished. I don't have to listen to you. But some instinct in my half-living heart beats me. My heart beats me, indulge him. I sit very, very still. All of a sudden, it's vividly apparent to me how much sound I make with a warm, living body. How blood pounds through my ears as I struggle to breathe as quietly and shallowly as I can. All the while my hunter sits still as marble, cold as stone. Then with a sweep of his cloak, he raises from the stool. I hear it now too. Footsteps crunching through the snow, drawing nearer. Flicking his head towards the bed, he signals me to hide. I slip myself as best as I can beneath the uncomfortable cramped space as I watch his footsteps approach the door. My heart feels like it's in my throat. My living human instincts scream at me to run. But I do not. I wait and wait until from the other side of the wooden door comes a slow, simple knock. I hold my breath as my hunter slowly swings open the door. The wind whistles as the snow makes its way inside the cabin, but my hunter does not move. He stands so still. He makes no sound at all save a small, sharp breath. Who is it? Why won't you say anything? Celine. What? And then, in a sing-song voice, a familiar voice, an impossible voice, the intruder speaks. What's wrong, darling? Are you so surprised to see me, my sweet Endymion? Won't you invite me inside? End of the demo. Darling, don't you recognize me? It's me, your sweet Calliope. I don't know if you say Calliope or maybe you say it in another way. Okay. So, what do I have to say about this one? Okay, yes, it's very narrative driven, and you know I'm always kind of like against the narrative driven ones. But I felt like it was different because I would not put this one, like they always categorize as they see fit because they want to sell. I would not actually categorize this one as a pure otome game, okay? This is like a romantic narrative visual novel. That would be something more akin to what we have in here. And I liked it. I actually liked it. Sorry. I liked it. But let me put this in here. Okay. I liked it. But it felt very much like you know the Fata Morgana one? It was kind of like giving me vibes of that one. And I liked it. I actually liked this one more than that one. Although I know everyone loves the Fata Morgana one. The thing is, with the Fata Morgana one, what I felt was I was reading that one, playing that one. And I reached a point with the Fata Morgana one where I felt like this is too much depressive. It was just a pure depressive journey through that one. And yes, it's a nakige. That's what the Japanese call when it's Nakige, it's games that really get into you, like make you cry. Nakige. And I know that the idea is kind of like that one. But I felt like it was not simply the fact that it would get into you and it would get into your feelings and all of it, but it was kind of like very depressive. And I felt that imagine like if a person is kind of like feeling depressive about their lives, like I would not even recommend that one for people to actually play it. It was more like that. With this one is different. It kind of goes in the same kind of state, but it's kind of different. And it's also different in the way that you feel like you might be someone that not be actually totally normal. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Like, you probably killed people, you probably done things that are kind of like unspeakable in a certain way. And you are kind of too much obsessed with the other person. And so, yeah, not the typical main protagonist, female protagonist that you usually find in this type of visual novels, which is also kind of like fresh air, you know, into the visual novel kind of thing. So what do I have to say about this one? Okay, I like it. I wish the font wasn't as serif as it was, because I had like some issues with it. But I'm picky about that, and I always talk about that. And there's also like this issue that I told you about the audience, which is like the English was very pretty, very beautiful, but I can honestly tell you that not all of the non-native customers are going to find this like as an easy breezy kind of read. Okay, so yeah, you also have that. But I kind of liked it. It was kind of interesting. Yeah, I kind of liked it. It was very full of rhymes. I was trying to give the right intonation to each part of it. I don't know if you liked it or not. The thing is, like, you know, I mispronounce a lot of things, and then it doesn't sound as good as it's supposed to sound. But yeah, I kind of liked it, and I'm going to leave the demo, the link of the demo in the description. Let me just check in here if this one, yeah, it's not out yet. That's what I wanted to see. It's not completely out yet. I don't know if the idea is to just stick with one love interest, or if they're going to put something else in here. And they are kind of like having this expectation of releasing to only next year. So I don't know when it's going to come out. Yeah, it was fun. I liked it. Yeah, it was. And in the beginning, I was like not expecting for us to get this whole situation. I was actually not expecting it. So thank you very much for being in there. I'm going to leave the demo link in the description. And play it if you want to try for yourself. Thank you very much for being in there, and I'll see you next time.